Right guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. In this one I'm just going to be showing you how to change the two bearings in your Mavic Axiom Freehub body. So let's go ahead, I'll run through the steps. Right, so the first step in the process is in the top here where your cassette lock ring would go on. There's a nut there with a washer underneath it. So what you need to remove that is, what we do is we clamp this the body in a vise with some soft jaws to hold it, and then what you need is a punch like so, and then this ring here, we just rest the punch in like that, give it a tap, it's anti-clockwise to undo it, and this ring comes out. Right, so we locate the punch in like so, then just tap the other end with hammer, anti-clockwise. And it might take a bit of moving before it starts to actually move. There you go. And then you should be able to, depends on how stiff it is, you might have to just keep tapping it round. And then make sure before you take this up out of there, make sure the threads in here where the lock ring goes, make sure you've degreased it or cleaned them out properly before you try and undo it all the way out. So you should just be able to undo it like so, if the threads are clean properly, until it comes out like that. So you put that to one side, and then just there's a washer there, so you can get that out. So it looks like that, and then you can see the bearing in there. So what we do is we can get that out now. Right, so what we've done is we turn the Freehub upside down now, and then what you need is slightly bigger punch there, and just rest it down inside on the bearing. So you're resting it on the inner race of the bearing, just in there. Then just hit it out using a crisscross pattern, so you're not hitting it out all in one place. Move the punch around while you're hitting it out, so you hit it down and out. Now you can rest this on a block of wood as well to do this, but because you need a vise to undo that ring in the other end, then I'll show you it in a vise, because you need one to do the first step anyway. So I'll just tap it out. There you go. So that's the bearing out. Grab hold of it. So there's the bearing. Looks like that. So now what we need to do is remove the one here, just in there. So what I'll do is I'll just remove it from the vise just to show you. Right, so looking up inside it, there's a collar there, just there. You can see that silver piece in there, just here. So that actually moves slightly, but you won't be able to get it out with your finger because it just won't want to come out. So what you do is you just put that back in the vise as we had it, clamp it up, and then we'll carry on and tap the bearing round here. You can see it just there, and that collar that's in there, silver piece there, should come out first. Right, so we just tap on the bearing there like that. You see it start to move. Doesn't take a lot. And at the same time the collar's moving down inside the Freehub itself. So there you go, the bearing's now loose in there. So I'll just take that out and show you. Right, so you can see the collar just there. There's that, and the bearing is now inside, as you can see, up in there. Now, because it's the same size bearing as the one we removed from this end, it won't come past there. So what you need to do is just move it until it's in place roughly. So when it's upside down like that, push down on it with your finger there to locate it in there, and then you can knock it on through and out again. So clamp this up again. Right, so the bearing's down in there now. To locate it, if to stop it moving around in there, if you're having trouble locating it into position to hit it out, you can use a deep drive socket like that. Just rest it in, get the bearing level in there, rest that in on so it's exactly the same size as the inner race there, and then you can hit that just to get it started in there. Once you've got it held in position, then you can carry on, just knock it through. So just do that. Like so. So there's the bearing that was just in there. So what you do now is clean up your Freehub body inside, degrease it, then we're ready to reinstall a couple of new bearings. Right, so to put the bearings back in there, the best way to do it is just get a block of wood on a hard surface. If you've got it clamped up in the vise, you can clamp it too hard because there's nothing in there now, and it can effectively oval the shape of the Freehub body without you realising, and you're trying to hit the bearings in there or push them in. You don't know, you can't work out why they're not going in properly or they're too tight. It's because it's crushing it up too much now, there's nothing inside it. So first thing to do is get some grease, just put down in the bottom where the bottom bearing's going to go, just put a smear around in there, and where the top one went, because we need to put the bearing back down through there as well. So just put some grease around there, just below the lock ring, the threads. So the bearings, only use quality bearings from well-known manufacturers. Never use cheap bearings, because if you go into this trouble, it's not worth using cheap ones, they don't last. So the two bearings, they're the same size external diameter, but the inside of them is different. So one of them's smaller internal than the other one. So the larger one with a bigger hole in the middle will go down in the bottom. So to get it down in there, we need to put it down through the top one as well first. So you've got to sit it in place like so. And then what you need is to put it in is a 20mm socket. That's the same size diameter as the outside of the bearing. So never hit where the seal is, the coloured seal or the black seal on the bearing. Never hit there, because you'll ruin the bearing before you put it in. So all you do is rest it on there like that, then just tap it in just to get it, make sure that it's going in straight. So just put that on there. And the bearing will just go through like that, just fall inside like so. So then what you want to do is get it lined up in the bottom so it's going in straight, you're not hitting in crooked. And then if you haven't got a longer drive socket of a 20mm, then put an extension on so as it reaches down inside there. Right, so you rest your socket down in there. Just make sure it's going in straight. Like so. Check this going all the way in. You can see there. So that's that one installed down in there. So what you need to do now is get your collar that went in there. So you've got the collar like that. Now before you put that in, get some grease and put some grease on the inside of that bearing that you just put in over the seal, the coloured seal, the black seal, whatever you've got, colour yours is. Put plenty of grease over that before you put the collar in there. And then once you clean the collar up, you can put it, lower it in. Just lower that down inside like that, just push it down in until it's actually touching the bearing at the bottom. Make sure it is actually touching all the way around in there, because that's the spacer between the two bearings, so you've got to make sure that it is all the way in before you go and put this top bearing in. So make sure you check that. And then what we do is just put another smear of grease around where the bearing's going to go there, and then on the bearing just put some light smear around the outside, and then on the seal that's going to face down in that you don't see, give that a good coat of grease over that. Just help try and stop the water getting in there. Just put plenty on there, and then again just drop it in to place and sit it in there. Then you get your socket again, and then just rest it on there again and lightly tap it in. So there you go, there's that one installed as well. So we've got both of them in there now. Right, so now we've got the bearings in, what you want to do is just check before we put the lock ring back in there and the washer. Just check, just put it on your finger and just spin it. Just make sure it feels okay and it spins really easily like that on both ends, so it spins no problem, as it should. So now what we do is just get some grease there and put over the face of that bearing as well. So put a coat over that, and then you've got your washer there, so just put your washer on like that, and then what you want to do, make sure the threads are nice and clean on this before you put it in as well. And then what we do is we'll get that started in there, and then we can tap it round in the vise just to finish it off. Right, so the lock ring's in there, we just got it started. Just make sure you don't cross thread it when you're putting it in. So what you want to do is you can just wind that down to the bottom till it stops, like so. Make sure you got the washer just roughly lined up in there, and then you just tap that round, just tighten it up, doesn't take a lot. Like so. So that's that installed, and the washer just moves, should move left, right, up, down in there anyway. You should just be able to push the washer around. So make sure it is lined up slight enough when you go and slide it back on your axle shaft. Make sure you just put a bit of grease on your axle and just round inside the bearings there before you put it back on. So if you found the video helpful, remember to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more cycle related content. Till next one, ride safe and I'll see you then.